And away we go. Episode 1352 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, June 22nd, 2026. Hope you had a nice Father's Day, which of course was on Sunday. Happy summer, as Sunday also was the first day of summer. And we now are a day away from our Washington Wizards' massive decision with their number one overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft, for which the first round is on Tuesday night. Who will the Wizards take? Who should the Wizards take? How possible is the Wizards trading the pick? ESPN NBA draft analyst Jeremy Woo, he on Friday morning came out with his final big board for the draft, and the big board included a big change. Woo moved Darren Peterson of Kansas from number 2 to number 1 and moved A.J. Debonsa of BYU from number 1 to number 2. As you may recall, Woo and ESPN NBA insider Shams Charania, they last Monday morning, June 15th, reported that the Wizards' decision at 1 was between Debonsa and Peterson. NBA insider Mark Stein of the Stein Line on Substack, he had a piece that came out early Friday morning, wrote, quote, multiple draft experts have passed along that they legitimately believe Washington could select Kansas's Darren Peterson over BYU's A.J. Debonsa with the number 1 overall pick, end quote. But Grant Afseth of DallasHoopsJournal.com, he on Saturday evening reported that the Wizards planned to take Debonsa at 1. You got all that. Meantime, ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst, he in an appearance on ESPN's NBA Today this past Friday afternoon said that there are no indications regarding what the Wizards are thinking with their number 1 overall pick. Here you go.
You know, and I am on the phone all day long. I'm in the information business. I'm talking to executives. I'm talking to agents of players in the top 10. I'm talking to scouts. And the Wizards have either done a wonderful job of holding their cards close to their vest, or there's still some level of uncertainty.
All right. Now, I would think that the Wizards at this point do know what they want to do at 1. And you know what? I love that the Wizards are doing such a good job of keeping people guessing. That's exactly how you want your front office to play a situation like this. Now, I did mention the possibility of the Wizards trading the pick. What has come up, of course, is the Wizards possibly trading down a spot to 2 and taking Darren Peterson, with the Utah Jazz, who have the number 2 overall pick, taking A.J. Debonsa at 1. Here was Brian Windhorst on Friday afternoon on the potential for such a trade.
I would say the biggest question mark is, do any of the top 5 picks move?
Okay.
Washington, I don't think is trading number 1. It doesn't want to trade number 1. And Utah, I don't think is interested in trading up to number 1. But with Danny Ainge and his son Austin, who run the team, would they consider moving back?
Okay, so there you go on that. Much more on all of this on Tuesday's show, episode 1353, on which I will speak with Washington Wizards insider Chase Hughes of Monumental Sports Network. We, with Chase, will conduct a tale of the tape style breakdown of A.J. Debonsa versus Darren Peterson. One more thing on the Wizards. D'Angelo Russell, he is exercising his player option for the 2026-2027 season. That, according to NBA insider Jake Fisher in a report on Friday afternoon, Russell presumably is doing this for the purpose of a trade because, as you may recall, he did not play in any of the Wizards' 33 games off being acquired by the Wizards via the Anthony Davis trade this past February 5th, what was 2026 NBA trade deadline day. The Wizards continually listed Russell as not being with the team, although that may have been a joint decision of Russell and the team. But you gotta love the modern NBA. A guy is acquired by a team via trade. He never plays for the team because he doesn't want to play for the team, and the team, which is tanking, doesn't want him to play. The two sides can't agree on a buyout, and so he just never shows up and is listed as not playing due to not being with the team. He wasn't injured, he just wasn't with the team, and this wasn't considered a big deal at all. This was considered normal for the current NBA. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we do talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. And next segment, a conversation with Barry Svrluga, columnist for The Athletic, on the Washington Commanders offseason and the Washington Nationals resurgence. Barry knows each team very well. We'll discuss if the Commanders in their 2026 offseason have done enough off their disappointing 2025 season, where Barry stands on the Commanders potentially acquiring San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk, why Barry believes that quarterback Jayden Daniels is poised for a major bounce-back season, whether head coach Dan Quinn is entering the 2026 season on the hot seat, how real the Nats' shockingly good offense is, notable comments from former Nats president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo to Barry, and more. Barry Svrluga on the Commanders and Nats next segment, and also on the show, breakdowns of the Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles weekends. The Nats and O's over the weekend played two of the best and most analytically inclined teams in MLB. The Nats over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games at the Tampa Bay Rays. The O's over the weekend, shockingly, won 2 out of 3 games at the Los Angeles Dodgers. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com, and in a request for 2,000 ratings of the podcast. If you want Apple Podcasts, give the podcast a 5-star rating on the podcast. We'll read whatever you write in writing a review of the podcast, but the review can include you saying something about sports. You don't just have to write about the podcast. From Mike on X on why the Washington Commanders, if they're going to add a veteran receiver, should sign unrestricted free agent Stephon Diggs and not acquire the San Francisco 49ers Brandon Aiyuk. And by the way, how about the latest from Aiyuk on Instagram? He, in a video posted on Sunday night, gave us this.
Man, what's up, everybody? I had a great Father's Day. And before I lay down and go to bed tonight, I just wanted to say, go Commanders! Go Commanders, man. Go Commanders. Raise hell, man. Take command. Fuck you talking about?
Yeah, that would be the latest from Brandon Aiyuk on Instagram. I don't know whether to laugh or be frightened, writes Mike. The real risk with BA is the burden getting him puts on JD5. When things inevitably go south, Jayden gets stuck answering for his friend, creating an unnecessary locker room distraction. No thanks. I'll take Diggs. Thank you for that, Mike. I hear you. But what hopefully would mitigate the potential for that is that the QB1 is not the only connection that Washington has to Brandon Aiyuk. Quarterback Jayden Daniels, general manager Adam Peters, offensive assistant Wes Welker, and running backs coach Anthony Lynn all have extensive paths with Aiyuk. Now, it is Daniels who is very good friends with Aiyuk, that is true, but Washington getting Aiyuk certainly should and likely would be on the basis of not just what Daniels thinks, but what Peters, Welker, and Lynn think, to say nothing of what a bunch of other people think, like head coach Dan Quinn, offensive coordinator David Blau, etc. Email from Jacob on Washington Capitals head coach Spencer Carberry. The Caps this past Thursday morning announced having signed Carberry to a multi-year contract extension, writes Jacob. Hello, Al. With the Caps season reaching a disappointing end and a Vezina-caliber season from Logan Thompson wasted, something that I'd heard circling around the D.C. area was Spencer Carberry potentially being fired. Firing Carberry would have been a terrible decision from the front office. I understand that the NHL has coaching turnover like no other league, but I believe that Carberry is the right guy for the job. The Caps have been retooling while pushing for another run with the old guard. Our prospect pool is elite with guys like Ilya Protas, Cole Hudson, and Andrew Crystal. And we have 2 picks in the top 20 in the 2026 draft. So the team has a bright future. Our rough season, in my opinion, can be attributed to 3 things. The Mitch Love situation, PLD missing almost 4 months, and special teams, which in full fairness improved during the 14-5-3 stretch post-Olympics. With a retooled coaching staff, this team has the horses and physicality to compete next season. So I think that Carberry has earned another season. Yes, he is only 5-9 in 14 playoff games, but he is an impressive 50-25-3 against the Metro with a winning record against every divisional opponent. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this. Thank you for the consistently great content. Thank you for the email, Jacob. I agree. As I discussed in the opening segments of the previous 2 shows, episodes 1,350 and 1,351, I endorse the Caps signing Spencer Carberry to a contract extension. Overall regular season record of 134, 83, and 29. Led the Caps to the Stanley Cup playoffs in each of his first 2 seasons. Won the Jack Adams Award for NHL Coach of the Year for the 2024-2025 regular season. The Caps, in not making the Stanley Cup playoffs this past season, had a strange season, as the Caps did not make the postseason despite in the regular season having 95 points and a goal differential of plus 19. That's a good season. 95 points and a goal differential of plus 19. Yeah, I like the Caps signing Carberry to a contract extension. Jacob brought up the Mitch Love situation. That does get forgotten. The Caps this past October 26th announced having fired assistant coach Mitch Love. He had been under investigation by the NHL since June 2025 for allegations related to his personal conduct. And NHL insider Frank Saravalli on October 26 in a post on X said that the NHL had suspended Mitch Love for the entirety of the season following an investigation into alleged domestic abuse, and that the alleged victim reported allegations directly to the NHL and to teams Love interviewed with over the previous summer for head coaching vacancies. And on a happier note, Jacob mentioned the Caps having 2 first-round picks in the 2026 NHL draft, and that is absolutely the case. The Caps have 5 picks in the 2026 NHL draft, including 2 first-round picks, the numbers 16 and 18 overall picks. So the Caps got that number 18 overall pick via the trade of defenseman John Carlson to the Anaheim Ducks. So the Caps on Friday morning, March 6, 2026, what was 2026 NHL trade deadline day at 1:10 a.m. Eastern, announced having traded Carlson to the Ducks for a conditional first-round pick in either the 2026 NHL draft or 2027 NHL draft and a third-round pick in the 2027 NHL draft. The 2026 NHL draft is this weekend. Round 1 is on Friday night. Rounds 2 through 7 are on Saturday. This year's draft is happening at KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York. Hey, if you would like to grow your business or practice, if you would like to make more money, consider advertising on this podcast, which just recently was the number 56 podcast in the country on Apple Podcasts in the U.S. football category. Podcast advertising works and is very affordable. Put the power of the pod to work for you. Get your message out there to thousands of successful people in the Washington, D.C. area. We'd love to have you on board. Email us to see what we can do for you. The email address is thealgaldipodcast@yahoo.com. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Quick question for parents. When was your child's last eye exam? Myopia, or nearsightedness, is becoming more common in kids, and it's not just about needing stronger glasses. If myopia continues to progress untreated, it may increase the risk of more serious vision complications later in life. The good news? An eye doctor can help identify myopia early and recommend options designed to help manage it over time. One of those options is Essilor Stellest lenses. Stellest lenses are designed specifically for children and are part of an approach to myopia management that corrects their vision while supporting eye health as their eyes continue to grow. They look like regular eyeglasses, but they're purpose-built for young wearers. Every child's vision is different, which is why starting with a professional eye exam matters. If you have concerns or even just questions, your eye doctor can guide you through what solution is best for your child. Clear vision today can help support your child's future, and it all starts with an eye exam. Visit Essilor.com to learn more about Stellest lenses and to find an Essilor expert eye care professional near you. That's ESSILOR.com.
Good to have you with us. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast, Barry Svrluga, columnist for The Athletic. Barry started working for The Athletic in May. He worked for The Washington Post from 2003 to this past February. You can follow Barry on X at Barry Svrluga, and Svrluga is spelled Svrluga. And we, with Barry, are going to talk Washington Commanders and Washington Nationals off 2 recent columns by Barry this past Friday, June 19th. Headline quote, what we learned about Jayden Daniels and the Commanders' new offense in minicamp, end quote. And this past Wednesday, June 17th, headline quote, the Nationals are winning again. Mike Rizzo reflects on the moves that helped to get them there, end quote. Hey, Barry, how are you?
Great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very nice to talk to you. So Washington's 2026 offseason program ended this past Thursday with the conclusion of the 3-day mandatory minicamp. The team now has a month-plus long break, and then comes training camp. The offseason isn't done, but the bulk of the offseason has taken place. Off the debacle that was Washington's 2025 regular season, 5-12 with a point differential of -95. When you look at all that Washington has done so far this offseason, the revamping of the coaching staff, the many acquisitions in free agency, what was done in the 2026 NFL draft, etc. Do you like the offseason? Do you see it as being an appropriate offseason given how poorly last season went?
I like it with some caveats. I think they really upgraded a lot on defense. They spent real money on defense. The defense under a defensive head coach in Dan Quinn has been terrible for 2 years. It really was the offense that drove them to the NFC Championship game during Jayden Daniels' rookie season. The idea that Durante Jones comes from the Brian Flores / trace it back to Bill Belichick school of defense. There's going to be a lot of disguise, a lot of deception. I think that's very exciting. But I don't think you can address the offseason without kind of mentioning that it feels like they are light in the receiver room, that Terry McLaurin has had a great offseason, is fully engaged. It's way different from a year ago when he was holding in or holding out, not showing up for OTAs, not practicing during training camp. He looks great and everybody's raving about him. But when you look at the back of the football cards of the guys behind him, I don't have them in front of me, but I did it earlier in OTAs. There's nobody with more than, I don't know what it was, 40 catches for 400 yards or something last season. They drafted the rookie from Clemson in Antonio Williams, but I just think that that's going to be the major question. Do they get another receiver? Is it Stephon Diggs? What's going on with Brandon Aiyuk? Like, that's the question that's going to kind of hang over things in the summer.
And you, in a column that came out on June 4th, wrote about Washington potentially acquiring San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Headline, quote, "Why the names Brandon Aiyuk and Stephon Diggs still hang over the Commanders," end quote. Is Barry Svrluga pro or anti-Washington getting Aiyuk?
I'm anti right now because I wouldn't have been anti if he was acting normal. But right now, even somebody like Adam Peters, who was with the 49ers when Brandon Aiyuk was drafted and was with the 49ers when Brandon Aiyuk was one of the best receivers in the league, he's got to be wondering, like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you handling your career this way? Why don't you show up at 49ers offseason workouts? Because they would cut you immediately. They don't want you getting hurt there and having to owe you all the money that's on your contract, even though the guarantees are gone. There's a lot of questions about how he's handling his career and really, honestly, his mental state with the kind of weird, bizarre Instagram videos he's putting out. I wonder about Stephon Diggs, who, fine, he has somewhat of a reputation of being a little bit of a malcontent in a couple different spots, but he last year, even though he's older, he had over 1,000 yards receiving for a team that went to the Super Bowl. That seems like a useful fit. Not to mention he's from here, which can be both good and bad, because people come out of the woodwork when you're a local guy. But I just think that guy's produced everywhere he's been. He recently, as soon as last year, produced a very productive season. And if you bring in a guy like that, if you bring in Stephon Diggs, then all of a sudden everybody else goes, one notch further down the depth chart, and the room looks a lot better pretty quickly. So that would be what I would advocate for. I think Aiyuk has just put himself into, kind of a sketchy position to be very attractive at this point.
Washington's QB1, Jayden Daniels, I get that you can't tell a ton about a player from how he looks in these offseason practices, but from what you saw from him in OTA and mandatory minicamp practices this offseason, from what he said in his post-practice press conference this past Wednesday afternoon, does he strike you as a quarterback who is about to have a big bounce-back season? I mean, that's what we as fans want when you think about the prospect of that. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, that's where my money would be. I think he's too talented and too mature and too dedicated not to. Now, I mean, the question is always going to be health. Last year was derailed more because of health. I think the health trickled into his performance, and, he wasn't as sharp a quarterback as he was when he was on the field. That compared to his rookie year, which was obviously spectacular. But I think another year, not just reps on the field, but mental reps, an offense that I know the Commanders feel like will be more sustainable and will play to Daniels' strengths more. A lot of play action that if they can get the run game going, I think there should be questions about the talent they have, the explosiveness they have in the running back room, but I do think the offensive line is a strength. My money is on a big year for Jayden Daniels and therefore a big year for the offense.
Do you view Dan Quinn as being on the hot seat as he enters his third season as Washington head coach?
I do. I think they all understand it's a big year for everybody. It's a big year for Adam Peters in terms of what roster did he build. It's a big year for Dan Quinn because he's hired 2 new coordinators and he's coming off 5-12, and there's not room for another 5-12. The schedule, as everybody's discussed, is very, very difficult in the early going. They've got to somehow weather, opening at Philadelphia, then playing in Dallas, and then coming home to have a home opener against the defending Super Bowl champs, and then going to London. Like that's almost cruel. But yeah, I think Dan Quinn would tell you he feels a lot of pressure to get this team back to where it was, not necessarily 12-5, but really competitive very early, and not Al, it wasn't just the record last year, but it was the style of some of those losses, just non-competitive losses, even with a bunch of injuries. I think the coaching staff, the front office feels like that's not acceptable.
No way. The extent to which Washington got destroyed in so many games last season really was bothersome. I mentioned that point differential, minus 95. You brought up the 2 new coordinators, offensive coordinator David Blau, defensive coordinator Durante Jones. Which hire is most important to Washington having a good 2026 season? Each hire matters a lot. We get that. But which hire matters more?
I'd go Blau, but in a 52-48 kind of way. I just think it's an offensive league, and the most important person in their building is on the offensive side, and that's the quarterback, Jayden Daniels. So, you're talking about a 30-year-old guy who's only a few years removed from his playing career as a quarterback, mostly as a backup with Detroit and the Cardinals. That's a lot on his shoulders, but they see real promise in him, both as an X's and O's person and as a leader. You don't just hand out those jobs as play callers to just, take a chance on somebody. They really believe in him. And I think, getting the most out of Daniels is the primary objective of this season. He's such a centerpiece. He has the ability to be a top 5 quarterback in the league. That job of maximizing his talents now falls to David Blau. So I think as important as Durante Jones is on the defensive side of the ball and how they have to be better on that. Think about this team. If they're just a league average defense, all of a sudden the floor goes way up. But if you're asking binary, who's more important, I'd say the offensive coordinator, Blau.
You interact with Washington Commanders fans a lot off the team's 2024 Renaissance season and then the team's extremely disappointing 2025 season. What would you say is the general sentiment of Washington Commanders fans approaching the team's 2026 season? What will be season number 3 for Adam Peters as the team's general manager?
I think they've pivoted from kind of permanent doom and gloom to mild optimism. My sense is that there's still faith in the front office, maybe more than the coaching staff. Really, most of the moves that Peters has made have been pretty good. The Marshawn Lattimore trade is always going to be the one that people point to, and that didn't work out. And I think everybody would admit that one didn't work out. But I also think you get some credit for going for it in that moment. Like, that was an aggressive move at an unexpectedly successful first season. And then I think in general, this offseason probably gets pretty high marks. I think the first round draft pick at number 7, Sonny Styles, gets high marks. But my sense would be that most fans chalk up the disaster, the largest percentage of last year's disaster to, the just terrible injuries across the board, not just to Daniels, but at edge rusher and at receiver and, all of that stuff. I think Terry McLaurin's holdout really kind of set a bad tenor, both in health and just kind of, it had a trickle-down effect that I don't know that I appreciated at the time, but it definitely did. So if he's had a great offseason, if they are installing an offense that they think is more sustainable for Daniels, that will maximize him a little bit more, I think that more people would think it's a bounce back year, not to 12-5 necessarily, but to get in that 9-8 or 10-7 kind of, we're in the race, we're competitive, we're not losing 30-10 like they did last year. It's kind of a guess, but that would be my sense of where the fan base is at.
Much more with Barry Svrluga in moments, but if you are a Washington Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, an outstanding site for discussion about the team, especially as we're now approaching training camp. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009. BG Obsession offers great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. No politics, just football. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. We're talking with Barry Svrluga, columnist for The Athletic. All right, I always enjoy talking Washington Nationals with you. Before we get to your Mike Rizzo piece, how real, how legitimate is the Nats so far in their 2026 regular season overall, having done so much better than anticipated?
Well, we're 70-something games in, and every time, they got swept by the Marlins at home, and I was like, okay, here we go. Like, this is going to be kind of a reversion, reverting to who they should be. And then they go out west and they take 2 or 3 from the Diamondbacks and 2 or 3 from the Giants, and should have swept the Giants, obviously blew a 9-1 lead there. And then they kind of get handled in the opener against the Mariners, and you're like, all right, well, that blown lead against the Giants and then getting throttled by a first-place team in the American League, they're going to revert to who they are, and then they outscore the Mariners 18-4 in the next 2 games. Like, they are resilient, and at this point, I think the offense has to be labeled real, and I'd say that's for 2 reasons. 1 and 2, well, put C.J. Abrams and James Wood as reason 1. Like, they are legitimate offensive weapons. They are players, hitters that you can build a lineup around. They are kind of figures that have to be reckoned with when any other team is game planning against them. And then the second factor, I would say, is that collectively, this front office and Blake Utera and his coaching staff are maximizing matchups in a way that we haven't seen around here. This outfit has been modernized in an instant. And so players like Curtis Meade, who wasn't even on the opening, they traded for him the first week of the season. He can play matchup and be a weapon. You see that up and down the lineup, that Butera is willing to pinch hit early in games to make sure that he's maximizing his roster. He's got to get a lot of credit for squeezing a lot of production out of a lineup that, if you handed this a random baseball fan, most people would say, like, well, who's that guy? Who's that guy? Who's that guy? I've never heard of Nasim Nunez, who hit 2 triples the other night. Like, I've never heard of Luis Garcia Jr., who's oddly the longest tenured national at this point. I think that the offense is real. I don't know that the run differential will be, because I just think the pitching is not there. It's just, at some point they're putting Mitchell Parker out there as a lefty matchup guy, and it's just not working. But they are fun to watch on a nightly basis, on an inning-to-inning basis, on an at-bat by at-bat basis, because they're so competitive in each one of those instances.
We're just a few weeks away from the one-year anniversary of Nats managing principal owner Mark Lerner on Sunday evening, July 6, 2025, announcing having fired president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo and having fired manager Davey Martinez. You spoke to Rizzo for this column that came out this past Wednesday. A very telling quote from Rizzo, quote, "I thought I was still the guy to get us through this second rebuild and to bring us a championship again. I think the plan was in place if we had implemented it fully. We were fully invested in what the plan was when we traded Juan Soto. I think we would be reaping the benefit," end quote. So Rizzo says that the rebuild plan that he had was not fully implemented. I think that we all have a good sense of what he meant when he said that, but you spoke to him. How do you interpret what he meant by that?
So I think the part that was implemented is like, okay, we're going to grit our teeth, bite our lip, and trade Juan Soto, one of the best players in the game. You can see the fruits of that deal in that, the two players that I mentioned that are the real weapons in the lineup, James Wood and C.J. Abrams, both came in the Soto deal from the Padres. So that part was implemented. The part that I think he's alluding to that wasn't was when we do that, when we tear down and we trade for prospects, and it was a bunch of different deals, including Scherzer and Trey Turner this summer before that, are we going to spend with veterans around these guys? That part never happened. There was never a budget to bring in free agents. I would argue that as much respect as I have for Mike Rizzo, and if they won the second most games, regular season games in baseball between 2012 and 2019. You don't do that by accident. They made a ton of really smart deals. They had a lot of really great drafts. They developed a lot of players and signed a lot of really good players. But I think what we're seeing now is a real modernization of approach. And, they're in the position that they are in the standings now, not because they went out and spent in free agency, but because these players are being developed at the major league level in a way that they weren't under Dave Martinez and his staff. So what Paul Taboni and his group are doing and Blake Butera and his coaching staff are doing, which is a level of preparation for the players on the roster and throughout the system that simply wasn't happening in recent years past.
Absolutely. The Nats so needed an overhaul in terms of organizational process, so needed to go all in on analytics and sports science, as we're seeing with Paul Taboni as president of baseball operations. I got a kick out of Mike Rizzo pushing back on the idea that he, in running Nats baseball operations, drafted well. Quote, "I think the doom and gloom of what we did in the draft, I think you can see those players are all over that roster. I think you see a system that we put together. It's going to bear a lot of fruit. It puts the new guys in a good position," end quote. What'd you make of him saying that?
Yeah, and that isn't so much even on Riz, it's on Chris Klein, his longtime scouting director, who, made some great picks, like Anthony Rendon at number 6 in 2011 was, it's a home run of a pick. He was such a great player for the Nationals. There's a bunch of good ones going back, but I think it's a little bit of pride from Rizzo because he came up as a scout. He loves scouts. He loves scouting. He has a real belief in his ability and his scouts' ability to do that. But, the fact of the matter is they haven't developed a hitter that's made any sort of impact in the major leagues. And that's not just for the Nationals. That's, players that they've traded away since the Rendon pick. I mean, Jacob Young, okay, fine. He's a really great defensive center fielder, but he hasn't cracked open his potential offensively until this year under a new regime that's got him preparing in a different way. So, the point of the piece was to touch base with a guy who had a huge influence on this baseball team over a 2-decade period and helped them win a World Series, and is for the first time in his life spending a summer without baseball. That's 50 years, in the game. It's just interesting to hear him talk. But, I put the quotes out there for people to read and judge whether they believe them. It's not I'm not saying I agree with everything that he says.
I hear you. Just to be clear, though, the number one reason for the Nats being so bad over the 2020 through 2025 seasons was the team doing so poorly in drafting and player development, period. And any denial of that by Mike Rizzo or anyone else is delusional. And you alluded to this stat, but this stat remains remarkable. If you, as of Tuesday morning, July 8th, 2025, looked at all position players who signed after being selected in the 2012 through 2024 MLB first-year player drafts, Nats draft picks ranked dead last in MLB in combined career regular season offensive wins above replacement per Baseball Reference at 1.2. Number one was the Houston Astros at 162. The MLB average was 63. The Nats, again, were at 1.2. That is horrendous. Final question, the big question looming over the Nats is how in is the Lerner ownership group on owning the team, especially in terms of spending on players. Now, something that I do find encouraging is that the Lerner group this past offseason spent on infrastructure in a manner in which the group had not previously. My take is that the lack of spending on infrastructure had been worse than the lack of spending on players. Should we be encouraged by the Lerner group this past offseason having spent real money on infrastructure, or is the proper way to look at that, hey, spending more on infrastructure is nice, but costs a lot less than spending on players?
Yeah, I think both can be true. I mean, I think Paul Taboni or somebody in that position wouldn't come without some sort of commitment of, we've got to get to at least the industry standards, industry best practices in terms of the tools that we give our players, and not just at the major league level, but in the system. They've got one of those pitch machines down in Rochester so that the guys down there can see different pitch shapes like that. That comes at a cost. It doesn't come at a cost of signing Juan Soto to an extension. We have to see when the time comes to really commit to competing, and that time may be sooner than any of us thought, and that I include Paul Taboni and ownership in that group. If they're this competitive now, I think the C.J. Abrams trade this summer is off the table, because the only reason you trade him is because you believe you won't be competitive in the time frame that he's on your roster. Well, now maybe you're competitive next year, into September this year. Who knows? That changes things. So what do they do this offseason in terms of saying, all right, look, here's the infrastructure player-wise, roster-wise we have in place. What's the plan building the roster out? How much money can we, how much better does this team look with a big-time starting pitcher on the roster? It doesn't even have to be Tarek Skubal, will be a free agent. But there's a trickle-down effect to, if you add a big arm in the rotation, then everybody else gets better too, because they're not being asked to. Jake Irvin isn't being asked to be a number 3 starter, which he's probably not. So I think there are major questions for ownership. And looming over all of that, of course, is the labor situation for next year. Can you spend big this offseason when there might not even be an offseason as the CBA expires?
Barry Svrluga, columnist for The Athletic. Barry, thank you. All the best.
I appreciate it, Al. Anytime.
All right. Always good to talk to Barry Svrluga. And if you have a case, contact Chris Nace. He is the lead attorney for the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, which has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades and has been a proud sponsor of this podcast since its first year, 2021. The Nace Law Group is one of the premier medical malpractice firms in Washington, D.C. The Nace Law Group routinely represents people who have been catastrophically injured as a result of anesthesia error, emergency room error, failure to diagnose / improper improper diagnosis, an inebriated medical professional, medication error, surgical error, wrongful amputation, treatment against a patient's wishes. Yes, all of these things do happen. And if one has happened to you or someone who you care about, know that the NACE Law Group is there for you. It is focused on getting justice for clients, many of whom have lives that have changed because of the negligence of others. The NACE Law Group treats its clients with dignity and compassion and aims to find resolutions that protect clients and their families as quickly as possible so that they can focus on healing. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. The Washington Nationals, for their 3-game series at the Tampa Bay Rays over the weekend, held a father's trip as Sunday was Father's Day, and the dads of players and traveling staff members were permitted to be with the Nats on this brief 3-game road trip. Now, if this kind of thing sounds familiar, it should. The Washington Capitals for years have held an annual Mentors Trip. The Caps Mentors Trip is the team's annual road trip on which players and traveling staff members bring dads, brothers, uncles, coaches, or mentors of any kind. And what's interesting about the Caps Mentors trips is that the Caps historically do very well on these Mentors trips. The Caps' all-time record in games on Mentors trips is 21-10-0. Well, the Nats, unfortunately, did not win their Father's Trip series over the weekend. The Nats lost 2 out of 3 games at the Rays, ending the Nats' run of having won 4 consecutive series and ending the Nats' run of having won 5 consecutive road series. Friday night, a 5-2 loss at the Rays in a game in which the Nats blew a 2-0 third-inning lead. Saturday, a 4-3 win at the Rays, but Sunday afternoon, a 4-3 loss at the Rays in a game in which the Nats blew a 3-1 6-inning lead. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 40-38 with a run differential of +12, 24-16 on the road versus 16-22 at home. The Rays in this regular season now are 43-31 with a run differential of +8, including being an MLB best 26-10 at home. The Nats have been really good on the road, but the Rays have been the best team in the majors in terms of home record. Before we go any further, the moment of the series from a Nats perspective to me came from Jacob Young. He in the 4-3 win at the Rays on Saturday was the Nats' starting center fielder and number 7 batter. He went 0 for 3 and got hurt on an amazing defensive play. Young in the bottom of the 8th, with Chandler Simpson on first, 1 out, and the Nats up 3-2, made a spectacular, leaping, backhanded catch as he crashed into the outfield wall in left center field for a first pitch lineout by Victor Mesa Jr. Young got hurt, although he in incredible fashion fought through the pain to flip the ball to left fielder Dalen Lyle while laying on the warning track, keeping Simpson from advancing from first base. What a moment that was. Jacob Young, while writhing in pain on the warning track, flipping the ball to Dalen Lyle. That is one of the most inspirational visuals of this Nats season. Young was able to walk off the field on his own, but manager Blake Butera did take Young out of the game. But the good news is that Young does not appear to be seriously hurt. Butera, during his post-game session with reporters on Saturday evening, said that Young was day-to-day. Young, during a pregame session with reporters on Sunday, said that he was dealing with soreness and tightness in his right rib cage. But man, what a play that was. The catch and then the flip. And you could argue that the flip was more impressive than the catch. But the Nats offense in the team losing this 3-game series at the Rays over the weekend overall was not good. Just 9 runs over 3 games. The 5-2 loss at the Rays on Friday night. The Nats just 2 runs, just 6 hits, which were 2 home runs and 4 singles. No walks, 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. The Nats did homer twice off Rays starting pitcher Griffin Jacks, but he ultimately allowed 2 runs in 5 innings with 5 strikeouts versus no walks, improving his ERA to 3.67 over 21 games, including 10 starts in this regular regular season. The 4-3 win at the Rays on Saturday. The Nats scored 4 runs on 10 hits, which were 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 6 singles. But the Nats drew no walks for a second consecutive game, and it went just 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The 4-3 loss at the Rays on Sunday afternoon. The Nats scored just 3 runs and had just 6 hits, although 3 of the hits were extra base hits, as the Nats had a home run, 2 doubles, and 3 singles. The Nats worked 3 walks and went 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. A monster weekend for C.J. Abrams. He was the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter for each of the 3 games in the series. He homered in each game. The 5-2 loss at the Rays on Friday night. Abrams went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. He and the Nats 1-run second had a leadoff homer to right center field for a 1-0 Nats lead. The homer went a projected 412 feet per Statcast. The 4-3 win at the Rays on Saturday. Abrams went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. He and the Nats 2-run second had a leadoff homer to right field on a 1-2 pitch to tie the game at 1. The 4-3 loss at the Rays on Sunday afternoon. Abrams went 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a double. Abrams in the Nats 1-run fourth had a 1-out opposite field double to the left center field gap, and Abrams in the Nats 1-run sixth had a 1-out solo homer to right field for a 3-1 Nats lead. The homer was affirmed via a crew chief review. But yeah, C.J. Abrams homering in each game in the series. Here was Blake Butera during his post-game session with reporters on Sunday afternoon on C.J. Abrams.
Yeah, CJ's been awesome for us all year long, and he continued to do it this series. Obviously today again with the home run, a big double for us as well, and played a good shortstop as well this series, and he just continues to impress.
Yes, he does. C.J. Abrams for this regular season now has 17 home runs and now has an OPS of .901. He's second to James Wood in each category in terms of qualified Nats players. Wood has 20 home runs and a .932 OPS. Now, Wood did not have a great series, so he was the Nats' number 1 batter for each of the 3 games in the series. The 5-2 loss at the Rays on Friday night. Wood, as the Nats starting right fielder, went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. The 4-3 win at the Rays on Saturday. Wood, as the Nats starting DH, went 1 for 5 with a double. The 4-3 loss at the Rays on Sunday afternoon. Wood, as the Nats starting right fielder, went 0 for 2 with a walk and an RBI sac fly. More good signs from Dylan Cruz. The 5-2 loss at the Rays on Friday night. Cruz came off the bench to pinch hit and serve as the Nats DH. He went 0 for 2. But the 4-3 win at the Rays on Saturday. Cruz, as the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter, went 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a single. He had the Nats 1-run ninth, had a leadoff homer to left center field for a 4-2 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.02. The homer went a projected 442 feet per Statcast, was his 4th home run over his last 13 games. And the 4-3 loss at the Rays on Sunday afternoon. Cruz, as the Nats starting center fielder and number 6 batter, went 1 for 4 with an RBI double. He did strike out 3 times, but he and the Nats 1-run fourth had a 2-out RBI double off the warning track in left field for a 2-1 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.12. So you look at Dylan Cruz in this, his latest stint at the major league level off being recalled from AAA Rochester on May 19th, 110 plate appearances, OPS of .607. That's bad, but that OPS for the longest time started with a 5. He more and more is looking like the player he was drafted to be when the Nats took him with the number 2 overall pick in the 2023 MLB first-year player draft out of LSU. Also, how about Nasim Nunez? Nasim Nunez is known for his defense and speed, but he is having a tremendous month of June in terms of his offense. He was the Nats starting second baseman for each of the 3 games in the series. The 5-2 loss at the Rays on Friday night. Nunez, as the Nats number 7 batter, went 1 for 3 with a single and a stolen base. The 4-3 win at the Rays on Saturday. Nunez, as the Nats number 8 batter, went 2 for 4 with an RBI double and a single. The 4-3 loss at the Rays on Sunday afternoon. Nunez, as the Nats starting second baseman and number 9 batter, went 2 for 3 with 2 singles and a stolen base. Nasim Nunez, for this month of June, has an OPS of .983. Who saw that coming? The Nats starting pitching and the team losing this 3-game series at the Rays over the weekend. So the 5-2 loss at the Rays on Friday night. Cade Cavalli was supposed to be the Nats starting pitcher for the game, but he was scratched from the start due to food poisoning. And so the Nats went with an opener and relief pitcher PJ Poulin. He tossed 2 scoreless innings, and then starting pitcher Miles Michaelis came into the game as the Nats bulk pitcher, he allowed 5 runs in 6 innings as Poulin and Michaelis admirably covered all 8 innings needed by Nats pitchers in this game. But yes, Michaelis did allow 5 runs. He gave up 9 hits, including 2 home runs, a double, and 6 singles. He issued a walk. He recorded just 2 strikeouts, although he did throw a lot of strikes, 85 pitches, 58 strikes, just 27 balls. So the 4-3 win at the Rays on Saturday. Cade Cavalli did make the start, but he was not good. He lasted for just 2 2/3 innings. He allowed 2 runs on 6 hits, 3 walks, and a strikeout. The 6 hits were a double and 5 singles. He threw a lot of pitches as he, over his mere 2 2/3 innings, threw a whopping 68 pitches, 39 strikes versus 29 balls. Now, how much of Cavalli struggling was him coming off food poisoning versus how much was just him laboring and being pitch inefficient? As we know, he can be, hard to say, but this was not a good outing. And the 4-3 loss at the Rays on Sunday afternoon, Andrew Alvarez again was good. He allowed 1 run in 4 innings with 6 strikeouts versus no walks. He gave up 4 hits, which were 3 doubles and a single. He threw a lot of strikes, 68 pitches, 44 strikes, just 24 balls. Alvarez in the bottom of the 3rd allowed a run on back-to-back 2-out doubles, but he otherwise did well. Blake Butera is being very aggressive in pulling Alvarez early in his starts, but hard to argue with the results. Andrew Alvarez at the major league level in this regular season, 9 games, including 4 starts, ERA of 3.34, whip of 1.39, strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.3. Very nice. The Nats relief pitching in the team losing this 3-game series at the Rays over the weekend. So the 5-2 loss at the Rays on Friday night, the Nats did not use any pitchers beyond opener P.J. Poulin and bulk man Miles Michaelis. The 4-3 win at the Rays on Saturday. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 6 1/3 innings with 9 strikeouts. So Mitchell Parker tossed 2 1/3 scoreless innings. Brad Lord tossed 3 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts versus no walks. He gave up 2 hits, each of which was a single, issued a hit by pitch. But Parker and Lord in this game really good. And Clayton Beeter did allow 1 run in 1 inning, but he recorded 2 strikeouts and got the save. He in the bottom of the 9th allowed a run in issuing a leadoff walk and then giving up an RBI single. Things in that bottom of the 9th did get too close for comfort, but the Nats did hold on for the win. But the 4-3 loss at the Rays on Sunday afternoon, 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 3 runs in 4 innings. Gus Varland allowed 1 run in 2 innings. Varland in the bottom of the 6th allowed a run as he gave up a 1-out solo homer by Ryan Valade to left center field to cut the Nats lead to 3-2, and that was some shot by Valade. The homer winner projected 436 feet per Statcast. Orlando Rebolta allowed 2 runs in 1 inning. Rebolta in the bottom of the 7th allowed 2 runs as he gave up a 1-out full count opposite field single by Yandy Diaz to right field, and then gave up a 1-out 2-run homer by Johnny DeLuca to left field for a 4-3 Rays lead. And Rebolta then issued a 1-out walk of Jonathan Aranda despite having had him down in the count at 1.12. And Paxton Schultz tossed a scoreless, hitless, and walkless bottom of the 8th despite a 1-out fielding error by 3rd baseman Curtis Mead. But the home run does continue to be a problem for Nats relievers. The Nats for this regular season are dead last in MLB in fewest relief pitching home runs allowed, 55. But still, here we are with the Nats, 40-38 with a run differential of plus 12. You absolutely take that from a Nats standpoint in what is season number 1 of a restarted rebuild. This team has been so much better than anyone anticipated. We, during Blake Butera's postgame session with reporters on Sunday afternoon, had these exchanges.
Despite the fact that you did lose this series, what's the key that this club keeps moving on the rise? It seems to be improving every day.
Yeah, I think our club needs to understand, like, when you're playing really good teams and you're playing meaningful baseball games, you know, one bad pitch, one mistake defensively, one mistake on the bases, those things cost you from, you know, that's the difference between winning and losing. And look, it's fun to play these meaningful games. We're in it right now, and we're feeling good, and teams are not taking us lightly, and we have to play really good baseball.
You said teams aren't taking you lightly. Does that feel different from the start of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, coming off of last year, of course, I think I mean, there's no surprise. We've done a nice job of scoring runs offensively, and we're winning games, right? And I think now it's our job to continue doing that, and also continue to know that teams know that we score a lot of runs, and they're going to match up as best they can against us. And that means that we need to even push the gas a little bit further, and know that teams they're going to bring in their best arms on our best hitters, and yeah, time for us to turn it up and accept that challenge and take it as a privilege.
What does that look like for you guys to push the gas forward? Like, what does that look like for you from a game playing standpoint or just an approach standpoint?
Yeah, just maybe to understand, like, hey, we're going to see their best arms. Teams are going to game plan around our best guys, and it's our job as a staff to make sure our players are ready to go, our bench guys are ready to go when teams are matching up, whether it be left on left or right on right, and make sure our guys on the bench are ready to go and not surprised by any opportunities.
And next up for the Nats is a 4-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies at Nationals Park. The Nats have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1 Monday evening at 6:45, Foster Griffin. Game 2 Tuesday evening at 6:45, Zach Littell. Game 3 Wednesday evening at 6:45, Miles Michaelis. And Game 4 Thursday evening at 6:45, Cade Cavalli. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Quick question for parents. When was your child's last eye exam? Myopia, or nearsightedness, is becoming more common in kids, and it's not just about needing stronger glasses. If myopia continues to progress untreated, it may increase the risk of more serious vision complications later in life. The good news? An eye doctor can help identify myopia early and recommend options designed to help manage it over time. One of those options is Essilor Stellest lenses. Stellest lenses are designed specifically for children and are part of an approach to myopia management that corrects their vision while supporting eye health as their eyes continue to grow. They look like regular eyeglasses, but they're purpose-built for young wearers. Every child's vision is different, which is why starting with a professional eye exam matters. If you have concerns or even just questions, your eye doctor can guide you through what solution is best for your child. Clear vision today can help support your child's future, and it all starts with an eye exam. Visit Essilor.com to learn more about Stellest lenses and to find an Essilor expert eye care professional near you. That's ESSILOR.com.
Imagine buying your kid a toy only to find the batteries aren't included, or buying furniture but missing the tools to build it. Frustrating, right? Now imagine the exact same feeling, but you're paying way more. That is what buying business software usually feels like. Fragmented, disconnected, and incredibly expensive. Odoo completely changes that. Odoo is a complete, fully integrated business suite where all your apps actually talk to each other. We're talking automated lead routing for your sales team, seamless AI integration, and intuitive point-and-click website builder. It's everything your business needs to scale, saving you time, headaches, and money. Stop piecing your software together. Go to odoo.com. That's odoo.com to learn more.
So this year marks 60 years since the Baltimore Orioles franchise won its first World Series, a 4-game sweep of the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 1966 World Series. The MVP of the 66 World Series was Orioles outfielder, future Orioles manager, and future Montreal Expos/Washington Nationals manager Frank Robinson. Well, what the O's did over the weekend, not on the same level as sweeping the Dodgers in the 66 World Series, but what the O's did over the weekend was quite nice. They won a 3-game series at the mighty Dodgers. Late night on Friday night, a heartbreaking loss, a 6-5 walk-off loss at the Dodgers in a game in which the O's overcame a 3-0 6-inning deficit, but blew a 5-3 ninth-inning lead by allowing 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th. But late night on Saturday night, a 3-2 win at the Dodgers, despite the O's allowing 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th. And Sunday, a 12-1 win at the Dodgers. The O's in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 37-42 with a run differential of -25. The Dodgers in this regular season now are 49-29, second best record in MLB with an MLB best run differential of +133. Make no mistake, the O's winning this series was surprising, especially considering how bad the O's have been on the road, just 15-23 on the road versus 22-19 at home. The Orioles offense in the team winning this 3-game series at the Dodgers over the weekend. So-so in Game 1, bad in Game 2, and excellent in Game 3. And the O's won this series despite maybe their best batter this season, Adley Rutschman, now being out. The O's on Saturday night announced having put catcher Adley Rutschman on the 7-day concussion injured list, retroactive to June 19th. This off him getting struck on the left side of the head on a throw while running to first base in the Orioles' 3-0 loss at the Seattle Mariners this past Thursday. This is a big loss. Adley Rutschman for this regular season as of games through Saturday was number 1 on the O's in offensive wins above replacement per Baseball Reference, 1.5. The 6-5 loss at the Dodgers late night on Friday night. The O's scored 5 runs despite not being great offensively, as the O's totaled just 7 hits, worked just 2 walks, went 1 for 2 with runners in scoring position, and struck out 10 times. The 7 hits were 2 home runs and 5 singles. Gunnar Henderson and Pete Alonso hit back-to-back 2-out homers in the Orioles' 3-run 6th. Henderson, as the Orioles starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run homer. Alonso, as the Orioles starting first baseman and number 3 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. The 3-2 win at the Dodgers late night on Saturday night. The O's were not good offensively, just 3 runs, just 7 hits, which were a double and 6 singles, just 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position, 11 strikeouts. So the O's did work 4 walks. So Blaze Alexander had the big hit. He is the Orioles starting shortstop and number 9 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run double. Alexander in the Orioles' 2-run 4th had a 2-out first pitch, 2-run double into left field for a 3-0 Orioles lead. And the 12-1 win at the Dodgers on Sunday. The O's were outstanding offensively. 12 runs, 15 hits, which were 4 home runs, a triple, 3 doubles, and 7 singles, 6 walks, 6 for 14 with runners in scoring position. So many guys did well. Taylor Ward, as the Orioles starting left fielder and number 1 batter, went 2 for 4 with a solo homer, a single, and a walk. Gunnar Henderson, as the Orioles starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 2 for 5 with a double, a single, and a walk. Pete Alonso, as the Orioles starting first baseman and number 3 batter, got on base 4 times. He went 2 for 3 with a 3-run homer, a single, and 2 walks. Colton Cowser, as the Orioles starting center fielder and number 6 batter, went 3 for 5 with a solo homer, a 2-run single, and an RBI single. Blaze Alexander, as the Orioles starting third baseman and number 8 batter, went 3 for 5 with a 2-run homer, a double, and a single. As we have discussed, the Orioles offense in this regular season has been good. As disappointing as the team's record is, the offense has been good. The offense has not been the problem. You know, the Nats are number 1 in MLB in runs scored, 416. The O's are number 8, 369. The top 3 qualified Orioles players in OPS for this regular season. Number 1, Pete Alonso, 812. Number 2, Taylor Ward, 748. Number 3, Gunnar Henderson, 715. Alonso has been so good, but someone who is especially thriving is this guy, Blaze Alexander. I mean, who expected this from Blaze Alexander? 189 plate appearances, OPS of 809. The Orioles starting pitching in the team winning this 3-game series at the Dodgers over the weekend. So in Game 1, good in Games 2 and 3. The 6-5 walk-off loss at the Dodgers late night on Friday night. Trey Gibson allowed 3 runs in 5 innings. He put a lot of guys on base, gave up 7 hits and issued 4 walks and a wild pitch. The 7 hits were 2 doubles and 5 singles. He did record 8 strikeouts, but all of this added up to a lot of pitches as he over his 5 innings threw 97 pitches, 58 strikes, 39 balls. The 3-2 win at the Dodgers late night on Saturday night. Trevor Rogers was good for a 3rd time in 4 outings of having been bad in each of 7 consecutive outings. He tossed 7 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts. He gave up just 1 hit, which was a single, issued 2 walks through 96 pitches, 60 strikes, 36 balls. Rogers is doing a lot better, and this outing late night on Saturday night was especially encouraging given how good the Dodgers are offensively. You look at Trevor Rogers now in this month of June, 4 games, all starts, ERA of 2.22, whip of 0.95. Outstanding. That is the Trevor Rogers who we saw over the last 3.5 months of last regular season and over his first 3 starts in this regular season. And the 12-1 win at the Dodgers on Sunday, Brandon Aiyuk again did well. He allowed 1 run in 5 innings with 5 strikeouts. He gave up 5 hits, which were a double and 4 singles. He issued 2 walks, threw a lot of strikes, 95 pitches, 62 strikes, just 33 balls. Brandon Aiyuk has become the Orioles' most reliable starting pitcher. It is true. He at the major league level in this regular season, now 12 games, all starts, ERA of 3.07, whip of 1.26. The Orioles relief pitching in the team winning this 3-game series at the Dodgers over the weekend. Bad in games 1 and 2, but good in game 3. The 6-5 walk-off loss at the Dodgers late night on Friday night. 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 3 runs, 2 earned in 3 2/3 innings. Now, Andrew Kittredge, Tyler Wells, and Yennier Cano combined for 3 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts versus no walks. But the closer, Ryan Helsley, he allowed 3 runs, 2 earned in 2/3 of an inning. He, in the bottom of the 9th, gave up a 1-out solo homer by Mookie Betts to left field to cut the Orioles' lead to 5-4. Issued a 1-out walk of Max Muncy. Issued a 2-out walk of Ryan Ward. And gave up a walk-off 2-out single by Dalton Rushing to right field on a 1-2 pitch. And 2 runs scored on the play thanks to a throwing error by right fielder Tyler O'Neill, who made a bad throw to home plate, although the throw was a 1-hop throw on which catcher Samuel Basallo just whiffed on the attempted catch, and the ball then got by Helsley, who was backing up Basallo. What a disaster that play was. The Rushing got 1 RBI on the single. Helsley in this outing threw 23 pitches, just 10 strikes versus 13 balls. So the 3-2 win at the Dodgers late night on Saturday night. 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs, 1 earned in 2 innings. Andrew Kittredge allowed 2 runs, 1 earned in a third of an inning, as O's manager Craig Albernaz, off what happened late night on Friday night, went with Kittredge and not Ryan Helsley in the bottom of the 9th with the O's up 3-0. But Kittredge gave up a leadoff homer by Shohei Ohtani to right center field to cut the Orioles' lead to 3-1, and Kittredge was charged with an unearned run via a fielding error by right fielder Leody Taveras, with Yennier Cano pitching. In the 12-1 win at the Dodgers on Sunday, 2 Orioles relievers combined for 4 scoreless innings. Grant Wolfram tossed 2 perfect innings, and Keegan Aiken tossed 2 scoreless and hitless innings. A tremendous series win for the O's, who now are 3-3 on their 9-game trip out west. Next up for the O's is a 3-game series at the Los Angeles Angels. The O's have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1 Monday night at 9:38, Kyle Bradish. Game 2 Tuesday night at 9:38, Shane Baz. Game 3 Wednesday afternoon at 4:07, Trey Gibson. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Tuesday's show, episode 1353, will feature a conversation with Washington Wizards insider Chase Hughes of Monumental Sports Network for an in-depth preview of the Wizards' decision with their number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft, for which the first round is on Tuesday night. We, with Chase, will conduct a tail-of-the-tape style breakdown of the perceived top 2 candidates to be taken by the Wizards at 1, A.J. DeBonce of BYU and Darren Peterson of Kansas. Also on Tuesday's show, plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. And on Tuesday's show, we'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are home to the Philadelphia Phillies Monday evening at 6:45 for Game 1 of a 4-game series. The O's are at the Los Angeles Angels Monday night at 9:38 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Man, what's up, everybody? I had a great Father's Day. And before I lay down and go to bed tonight, I just wanted to say, go Commanders! Go Commanders, man. Go Commanders. Raise hell, man. Take command. Fuck you talking about?